The painting before you is titled Garden of Eden by Robert S. Duncanson and is displayed in the Religion and Spiritual Arts section at the National Museum of African American History. While walking through this exhibit, I noticed that all but one of the paintings had Christian themes. It's rather commonplace that Christianity is an important aspect in most Black homes across America. Even one of the main faces of the African American civil rights movement was a reverend. However, the origin of Christianity in the African American household and the culture of African American people is actually a rather heinous one. To explain, we'll have to take a trip back. Prior to Europeans taking over the cultures of West Africa, there was an incredible diversity of religions. When Europe decided to ship the African people across the Atlantic by the millions, they also decided to strip these people of their names, language, culture, and more to the point of this video, their religion. The slave owners would not only preach the teachings of the Bible, but would require the slaves to practice Christianity as a way to assimilate them into the culture that was already set. Practice of their own religion was strictly prohibited and could even be punishable by public beatings and even death. Generations later, however, the Black community fully embraced Christianity and even built their own churches and created own forms of worship like gospel music. So how did this story end up here, from involuntarily having religion being torn away to becoming devoutly Christian? According to a 2014 survey, the African American population is approximately 73% Christian, and there's a measly 3% which contains every other religion that is not Christianity. Islam makes up 2% of this number, which is incredibly low considering how practiced it is around the world. Islam was also one of the most prevalent religions in West Africa prior to slave trade. So the part that I don't quite understand is, with the knowledge that all of this was happening, the forceful assimilation into this religion, would the people that came from these families that were shipped overseas would continue to perpetuate a religion that was so brutally forced upon their ancestors? Now, I don't think that a great many people would have converted back to an African religion strictly because they would have had little access to any information on it, and slavery spanned several generations, making it difficult to preserve the prohibited. However, conforming to and then remaining incredibly loyal to a captor's religion and culture long after you're no longer under the will of your captor is kind of a large-scheme, multi-generational Stockholm syndrome. I mean, it's not necessarily their fault, it's more of a systematic breaking down of religion and attempted assimilation, or in this case, successful. I'll talk about that later in the video. Additionally, the presentation of Christianity would have represented Jesus and God as both white men, the very people enslaving, torturing, and separating these families. So, despite the fact that I don't quite understand this behavior, I do understand that systematic indoctrination is hard to combat. So, let's review some of the reasons why this loyalty to the church may have started in the first place, as well as stayed around so long. The slave parents may have taught Christianity as though it were their true beliefs in order to protect their children, since the practice of their true faith was not allowed. However, a quote from Captain Thomas Phillips implies that there was little reason to convert, even considering the punishment. We had about 12 slaves did wilfully drown themselves, and others starved themselves to death, for 'tis their belief that when they die they return home to their own country and friends. There was one forum that I saw online that said that it may have been due to Jesus' relatable nature. As they suffered, so did he. It was likely because it was more comfortable to stick with what they knew instead of trying to challenge the already set societal norm, even after slavery was ended. The modern perpetuation of Christianity in a lot of homes, African American and otherwise, is likely due to tradition. It's not a fantastic reason, but it is an explanation nonetheless. If we look back at the Holocaust, there is a clear example of an attempted eradication of a religion and an attempted conversion to another as a whole, much like that of the African people. When I was walking through the Holocaust Memorial Museum, I heard a recording of a man talking about how the Nazis attempted to break down the religion and the spirits of the Jewish people in one camp. The Germans made a Hanukkah celebration on the poles of the barracks, the outside poles. They hung up prisoners who were chosen to be one of the tens on their feet, heads down. We had to pour oil on them, and they had a bonfire. We had to sing Christmas songs, Heilige Nacht, Silent Night. I mean, we had to sing the songs while our brothers, our fathers, our cousins were burning. There have been several times in history in which Christianity was aggressively thrust upon groups that had pre established cultures. This is not to say anything negative about the religion of Christianity itself, but rather those who had control over how it would be spread and managed throughout history. In most cases, the group that was subjected to slaughters, torture, and the systematic destruction of their culture remained faithful to Christianity afterwards despite the knowledge of the past. Why didn't they question this? It is important for us to occasionally question what we think. It is also important for us to understand why others do what they do. I understand that it's uncomfortable to think about this kind of stuff, and I'm always supportive of whatever religion anyone chooses to follow. However, I find necessity in knowing why we do the things that we do. We may have a more diverse world, less likely to have anything like mass forced conversion of a particular religion happen ever again if we just think through why we're doing what we're doing. But this isn't just about what I think. Tell me your thoughts on this in the comments or right now in class, and subscribe to my channel if you want. You don't have to. I made this for a school project that you all know about, so I likely won't upload anything else soon, but worth a shot. Shout out to Dr. Jam's Honors Colloquium 2018-2019 class. Have a great day, everyone.